And welcome to an exciting adventure on Riding Through the Unknown. I'm your host, Michael, and tonight's show is kind of a special episode because we do have a returning guest, and we are going to be continuing our talk about what she was on before with an additional twist. And that twist is I had a session with her, so we're going to incorporate that into today's show somewhat. So I am going to turn it over to the one, the only, super wise, extraordinaire, Jen Nunez.
Thank you very much, Michael. Um, Love that intro, and I gotta say, I love your intro to your whole podcast. So very well done.
Thank
Um,
you.
it's great to be back, and it was wonderful to do the session with you and kind of touch on that tonight and kind of carry on to what we were talking about in the last podcast. And um, so much has kind of happened between them. So I'm just going to let whatever flows flow. So,
Well, and one thing that when I was looking at my chart, that I saw was called out in the beginning, and it really doesn't kind of explain it. It just says this is what it is. And so I was wondering if you could give more background to the origin of and what that means. Is the four ancient modalities and quantum, what was it? Quantum, boy, I can't even read my own writing on that one. What did I write? Quantum. You know what? I'm going to pull up my chart and go take a quick look. It was at the very beginning.
yeah, go right ahead. Are you looking at the ebook that I sent you?
Yes,
The quantum mechanics.
that's
So,
it.
okay. Yeah, I can definitely give a background information of human design, where it came from, um, and what all you're reading, basically. And I'm gonna do it through my own lens. I have found that, first off, human design is kind of rarely new to the collective outside of astrology, the I Ching, the chakra system. Quantum physics is kind of new. We're reading that. Um, the Kabbalah system, all those have been in the collective or on our planet for quite some time. And that's human design is basically all of those concepts into one. And it came through being channeled by a guy back in the 80s and 90s. 90s is really when it came. He started teaching about it. His name is Ra Urahu, and he had an experience with a voice, and this voice gave him the blueprint to what we call human design. And the way that I like to look at it, as we'll talk about astrology. Astrologers, or anyone that follows astrology, can know and see that the planets are obviously influencing us here, down here. How that's happening, human design tells us. So, all of the systems that I pretty much said is like as above, where human design will show you on a more biological level, what makes you tick, what is actually pulling the strings, why it is that you react in a certain way. Where the quantum mechanics come in is that we now know that quantum theory is happening. We are creating our own reality. How do we do that? Well, we react by the energy inside of us. This is why when you something outside of you happens, it's not the situation that makes you feel that way. It's what's bringing up inside of you that's making you feel that way. And human design can tell you why that could possibly be, on a very micro level. So I hope that kind of answered your question.
It did, and my next question that I was thinking about is, all this information is really great, and I have it because I reached out to you. What do people who can't reach out say, for some reason, like don't have Wi Fi or don't have internet or don't have the means to afford these sessions? What can they do to kind of help start to realize what is their blueprint and aspects of their lives that are being influenced by certain things?
Well, down to the basic level. You need a software first to pull a chart. I don't um to be honest, I don't recall coming across anyone who has not pulled a chart, where it does not involve like a software hand. I don't know if that is possible. I'm pretty sure at one point in time it was. Um, so they would have to, one, be connected with the internet to do that, or know somebody that has the software to be able to pull a chart. Anyone can pull a chart. If they, reach out to me, I can pull a chart for free. And then to start off with human design, it's really just good to know what what's called your strategy and authority is. And that's all going to be based on your specific type. And your strategy is how you can navigate through life with more ease and grace, like having life happening for you instead of to you. And your authority is going to be your signature signpost. It's going to tell you if you are in alignment or not. And that's what I like to tell people to start with, along with some old fashioned mindfulness, because the only person that can really convince anyone that that what you are reading, what you are experiencing, what you're learning about yourself is real and there's something to it, is for you to enter into what's called your own experiment and you witnessing that yourself. Human design shows us to get out of the conditioning, the program, the containers that everyone is now waking up to, that is very controlled. Okay. So many of us are realizing that the reality that we live in has been fabricated for an agenda. And there are some guests on your show that know the very extent of that. But when we look at the overall picture, how are humans supposed to interact with each other outside of this outer influence that has been impacting our collective for a very, very, very long time? Human design will show us that. It's pretty amazing. It's very multi-layered. It can you can do it from your easiest of basically what I just said, learning your strategy and authority, and just having that, just knowing that, navigating your life, or you can go deeper into it. It's very multi-layered. And for anybody who, when you do get into human design, it will tell you a lot about yourself. It will tell you about the people that um, you incarnate with, your family, relationships, all sorts of different things. I mean, I love it. It's helped me transform my life. And I feel like it's going to be a great tool to have in the future as well.
Well, I will say, and you probably remember this when we were doing the discussion over the chart, how pretty much it was like you knew everything about me, and I'm like, we haven't talked on this level, but you were like, your chart's showing this, and I was like, yeah, that's me in a nutshell. That's exactly it. And it was like, I don't think there was ever a point in the chart where you said, well, you're this. And I was like, nope, that's not me. It was like everything was spot on.
Well, and that was the amazing thing is that you're living within your design without, knowing human design. And that's overall, that's the most important thing. A lot of us, I'll say this, the personal development, the healing world, the spiritual healing world, especially, you can get trapped in the amount of shadow healing that you have to do. And there are things that you may be working on for a great period of time. I'll use myself as an example. My profile lines, which, your profile lines and everything are based out of the I Ching. Okay. And the I Ching has been, what I think that was channeled, I mean, thousands and thousands of years ago. I think it's the first thing that actually hit that, outside of astrology, but that's where you get your profile lines. And I'm what's called a 5-1. And the 5 line is a heretical line, it's a heretical energy. And if we look at heretics historically, they've not their lives have not ended well. And it's not, when most of them were executed, it wasn't like they were hung or anything like that. They were executed horrifically for being heretics. And so one of the things after I had my awakening and I really started to step into my purpose and putting myself online and out there, was one of the core things that energy that was coming up inside of me was being ostracized by my tribe. And that energy has happened to me ever since I started school. Like as pre-K, people were projecting on me. The 5 line is under the projection field all the time. So I'm going about doing all this healing of, imposter syndrome and, conquering my fear, but I still have this fear. And the more that I dove into the 5 line, that is the signature frequency that's going to come with that line. That signature frequency was also triggering outside circumstances for me to have that experience. And because I was reacting to the experience emotionally, I started manifesting more scenarios. And when I had that epiphany that, oh, this is this is probably a collective energy that needs to be healed. It's not a personal thing. I could get stuck in victim mentality over the trauma that energy frequency has. But I didn't. I use it to my advantage. And I just looked at it as, I am here to share what I find through in a heretical way. If people like it, they do. If they don't, they don't. But God made me in a certain way. And so I'm going to step into that. But for a long time, I was acting out of shadow, or how the terminology is in human design. It's the not self theme. And that's the shadow aspect. And I could have also spent a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of energy trying to heal something that is just a frequency there. I like to look at frequencies as a radio. The radio station is on that frequency. I have the choice to turn up the volume or not.
Right. And what's interesting is I have it as my second line. And when I think about it, is how you're describing it is and I don't remember if I brought this up during the session or not, but I took on a major family issue thinking this was mine to fix and underwent a lot of self healing to heal it, to find out after 20 years or 30 years of working on it to go one day and wake up and go, this ain't mine. And let it go. And just as soon as I did, it's like my entire perception and everything changed. And I was like, man, why couldn't this come like, 20 years earlier?
I know. So your profile is a 3-5. You have that 5 line too. So you're going to be in the projection field. And your 3 line is going to the 3 line is always bumping into things to figure it out. So you're going to have all these scenarios just kind of pop up into your life. But people are gonna project on you through that 5 line, and the 5 line can be viewed as a savior. So what you just said too, in that 5 line, that what the 5s tend to do, because we are in the projection field and people will look at us to solve problems or anything like that, we will go ahead and commit to that. So we end up saviorizing ourselves in the process. And I've gone through that too, where I've woke up and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
why am I doing this to myself? So kudos for you. I mean, it may not, it may take us some time to get there, but we get there.
Yeah. Hopefully, people listening to this, may get triggered to awaken sooner and not have to spend the 20, 30 years we did.
Some of the younger generation, I am pretty proud of them. I think that they are seeing things. I have come across some individuals where I'm just like, man, if I just had that wisdom when I was your age, but that's not part of my story either.
Yeah, and I think I remember talking with you about, what we went through forged us into who we are. And so if we went back and did the shortcut, so to speak, and had the epiphany sooner, I wonder, you can't help wondering how different we would be today. Would we even still be on the same path? Or would it have
Mhm.
caused us to vary off and be like, okay, that's done. Okay, let's go do this now. And it's like, wait, you were supposed to do a whole lot more in this area, but now you left it because you feel it's done.
Mhm. Yes, amen on that one. Um, I don't. Yeah, it's been one hell of a journey, but I mean, at where we're at in this game and everything that's going on, I don't. I won't change who I am today. So
Yeah. And I love the fact you're wearing a Back to the Future shirt because it's so fitting to what we're talking about.
it's been the theme of the day, apparently. Um, yeah, I was trying to get more vintage shirts in. Seems to be my theme this year.
I go through that. I'll be like, I'll find like all these shirts and be like, I liked that show. Yeah, let's get that. Yeah, I need a shirt for that. Or yeah, I need that. And then it's like a year or two down the road, you're like, why do I have this? And then it'll be like a couple of years, you're like, man, I'm so glad I still had this shirt and it fits and I'm bringing it
Right.
back.
Yes, yes. Um, did you have any other questions that popped up on your human design?
Well, one of the things I was curious about too is the processing, when you I forget where it is in the chart, but it's like for me, I'm able to almost like a one and done. I see it, I learn from it, and then I let it go, and that's just who I am. And other people are, I see it, I learn from it, I share it, I relook at it, I learn from it, share it, and they go through a longer process. So, how do these two different patterns coexist? Because I find at some points it's like, you could be looking at something and you're done, and somebody's looking at something like 5 days later, still looking at the same thing, and you're like, come on, seriously, we're gonna keep going here? You're gonna make me rehash this? And so I don't think it's fair to that person, but I'm also like, but this is who I am. I'm already done with this, and you keep wanting me to bring it back up. And so, what advice do you have about that?
Well, I would totally. So on the right, there's so many multi-layers to human design. On the first layer, I would say that has everything to do with your type. And so there are basically 4 types. There's just one type that's kind of split into 2. Some people say there's 5. The majority of society, as we know, are generators and manifesting generators. Still a generator, and that's what you are. And then you have the other 3 types that are manifestors. I'm a manifester. You have projectors, and you have what's called reflectors. Okay. Generators and manifesting generators, that's exactly what you're describing. Y'all are designed to skip steps. You're generative. You have all these energies. You're go, 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 go. And you, being your design in a 3-5, you're here to basically show what doesn't work, what you're going to be bumping into. So in the process of taking that idea and bringing it into doing whatever it is, you're going to be skipping steps, and along the way you're going to be showing what's not working. That's what generators are designed to do. Manifestors, projectors, and reflectors, we all have another specific duty that we are bringing to the whole pie as a whole. So when the ones that either have to process the information, I bet you they are another design type. So yeah, it just depends. Me being a manifester, and manifestors are 9% of the population, we're here to initiate. We are what is, everything that is pretty much manifested in the collected, probably initiated from a manifester to start with. Manifesting generators, y'all still have the manifester energy. But the manifestors here just to initiate the movement, to get things going. Projectors are like the project managers. They're 30% of the population. And then you have reflectors who are 1% of the population. And they're just here to show the tribe if they're doing a good job or not. A very popular reflector that most people know that she is actually doing what a reflector does is Teal Swan. Teal Swan started to reflect back the craziness the spiritual community can get into, because she went through the whole thing of people were accusing her of being like a cult and things like that. But she is a reflector, and she actually did her job as a reflector. So I'm pretty sure she's one that has to sit and process the information, for a while. Also, looking at your design and going back to what I said at the very beginning, the basis of what people want to know is their strategy and authority. Your authority is emotional. That means you have a defined solar plexus. I have a defined solar plexus. There's other types of authorities where people can make decisions fast, okay? But not the emotional awareness. The emotional awareness needs to wait for it to not be in an emotional wave and for clarity to make the decision. And the reason we do this is because sometimes we say yes or we say no to things when we are in a high emotional wave or a low emotional wave. And the next day we wake up and we're like, why the hell did I do that? So there's a couple of different mechanics that can be playing the part, to answer your question, but that's what I would look at right away. You're designed to move fast. I'm designed to dissect, and I am one of those that now that I know my design and I try to apply it in every area of my life, I don't make decisions too fast. I have to dissect things.
So I'm wondering, as astrology is tied to this, there are signs that are congruent and collaborative, signs that are you are just not going to get along.
Mm-hmm.
It's forecasted, it's just not going to happen. And since astrology is a part of this, does the types have collaborative and anti-collaborative, to where it's like manifesting Jennifer never get together with, say the what was it, trying to think of the one, it was started with the F, I think it was the reflector.
Oh,
That's
yes.
one.
Yes, it does. Human design. I don't have a particular formula. You know, your human design is also showing us what your aura is doing. And so sometimes when we get, when we come across another person and our aura is connected with their aura, you can tell right away, if you're going to like someone or if you're not, if you're going to get along with. That can all be dissected by, when our auras are meeting, our designs are going to start to change because I'm going to be filling in your centers, your open centers. If you have what's called hanging gates, that means that the channels are not connected. Those are all going to start to feel connected and everything like that. And depending on what that is, yes, it can. If you don't know human design, you can have more friction. If you're not in your true self and you're acting out of your shadows, that can cause friction. I have gate 45. Gate 45's purpose in the collective is the one that after the resources are gathered for the tribe, it is the one that steps in to distribute the resources for the tribe. Okay, it's a tribal energy. And I have been in scenarios with other people that it can be very intimidating and triggering because it is a leadership gate. And when we have resources, it's much needed because I'll give you an example. Let's say it's, everyone wants to have a community. Okay, we have a community, we have all this food, shit hits the fan. There's some people out there who would go through the whole food in a week when we need to stretch it out for 3 months. Gate 45 is the one that comes in and says, oh no, we're going to do it this way, and starts to distribute. So it can be controlling. It can be very dominant because that's what it's there for. That's what it's there to do. But I've been in scenarios with people where they get triggered, and then they start to project on me that I'm being controlling. And I'm like, no, I'm just doing what naturally comes to me.
Sensible thing.
Exactly. Because on the other side of gate 45 is gate 21, and gate 21's purpose is to collect the resources for the tribe. It is the hunters that go out and kill the meat and bring it back to gate 45, and gate 45 is like, here, I'm going to feed the whole tribe with this meat, instead of, the whole tribe starving. So because I know it, I know what it is. When I see that coming up, I can laugh at it and I can dispel it, instead of like getting all up in my feelings and, oh, this person's thinking I'm controlling. And I mean, all sorts of different things. So, to answer your question, yes, it can. There's multiple different reasons and why that is. But yes, you put a bunch of manifestors together, there can be friction.
I can't help wondering now, when we look at, like, and I'm not meaning this as a dig against mainstream medical practices, but when we have like all these people in therapies and all these people that are going to like couples counseling and doing all this other stuff, where they sit and they're just going, well, I don't like this, I don't like that, and when you do this, I don't like and nothing seems to come of it. I wonder if, instead of going through and those months of counseling, if they took the hour and a half and did one of these, how much of that would be resolved right away and be going, okay, so this is who you are. I'm not going to hold it against you. Okay, we can change our relationship now.
My mentor, who I recommend in that case, I am really starting to just now dive into the connection. What it's called is, you would run a composite chart, because there's something that happens on a higher level when you get more auras together. Then I won't dive too much into this, but my mentor, he did that. And there are relationships that he has saved because he was able to um, pinpoint that in a way that most likely we know what the other person is annoyed by. And again, what I said earlier is that most of us, when we go through life, it's not the other person that's making us feel that way. There's something inside of us that is happening that is getting us to react. The other person doesn't get you to react. And be mindful of people disrespecting you. I'm not allowing that. But sometimes your husband or your significant other could do something that just irritates the fuck out of you, and you don't know exactly why that is. And most likely human design can kind of tell you about that. I like it because I know that you can be more forgiving with people too. I have some friends that, they may be gate 49, for example. It's a revolutionary gate. It's very passionate about what is happening in the world right now. And because it comes off the solar plexus, which is emotional, if it is defined, it can be very, extremely passionate, and some people can take that as too much, where I see it as, we need that. Our world right now needs people to light a fire underneath their ass, in my opinion. And that's exactly what gate 49 does. It stirs up that energy for revolutions. We would know, most people, I'm pretty sure, if we ran human design historically, The ones that started revolutions in the past probably had that gate. So, and that's where I'm at too with this, with human design, is because my one line investigates and I love doing historical deep dives, I'm starting to pull charts on historical figures. And I'm like, wow, okay, there we go. That's why that person is at play in that specific scenario. But their design is also triggering, going back to your question, their aura and everything is triggering the people around them to start to get that energy to manifest in that certain way for whatever that outcome was. So,
and that makes sense. And one thing that when I was looking at my chart before we got started, I remember looking at something and going, I don't really understand this part. And what it was is the variables section, that's PLLDLR, personality, sun, earth, and the design, sun, earth. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, but my mind keeps looking at the PLLDLR, and I'm like, what in the world does that mean? And what did those letters mean? And so that's where I'm like, I think where I'm trying to understand it is I get hung up in, what are these letters? Because normally letters stand for something, and it's like I'm feeling like I should know what these letters stand for. It's probably something super obvious, but it's like not locking in my head, and so I'm like, I don't know what this is and
now,
what these arrows are about.
so yeah, again, multi layered. On the surface, what your variables are going to show you how you're viewing life, how you're processing information in your head center, your digestion, um, how you're supposed to digest, how you're supposed to manifest, what motivates you, the environment that you are supposed to thrive in. To be honest, I don't know exactly what the total PLL or what the letters mean, but the variables and the arrows on the human design chart, it's just another layer of telling you um what your senses are. It's really the way you're viewing, how it's calculated. I'm not, again, it's like the package that I gave you was the full report. So let's just say that it like had the master level. That's what you're looking at. But I feel like it's important because the way that we view life is very important. If your arrows are facing all left, then that means that you can be very mechanical and strategic. I have a friend that is like that. So any new information that comes in, he breaks it down in a very strategic, mechanical way. Where right, when your arrows are facing right, you're more open to the information. You don't have to get out a notebook and write every single note down. You just kind of absorb it. It shows you how you learn better. People learn better when they have notes. When they're writing everything down as they're listening. I don't learn that way. I have to do two things at once. So I absorb the information a lot better when I am walking and listening to a podcast. If I'm multitasking, when I read books, I like to listen to the audiobook and read at the same time. I absorb the information a lot better. So when you get into your variables, it's just like another layer. Each one means a different thing. It kind of gives you different information. I would say that's like a level 3 or level 4 in human design. But when you start to go through your book, that's what I was checking. When you get into the senses, that's what's going to tell you more about yourself, your motivation, your environment, your digestion, the way you're viewing life, how you process information, and so forth. So,
And what's kind of funny is as I'm listening to you, my mind goes, oh, so it's personality left, design left, right. And I'm like, oh my God, how did I not figure that out before when I was looking at it? Going, oh, that's what that is.
yeah,
Is that is
on page 32 is where it'll go into. Again, I can't right off the bat,
yeah.
I can't remember exactly what the PLLDLR mean. Um, but
But yeah, it looks like because I have the two arrows pointing left and then the two arrows pointing towards each other below, and it lists personality first, then design.
right.
And so I'm wondering, and I'm looking now at it and going, oh, is P the top and the two arrows are pointing left? That's why it's PLL. And
It
the two
might
arrows
be.
pointing together is design is left and right. They're pointing at each other.
It might be. That's a good perception. I will have to look into that because now you got me curious. But basically that is what that specific the variables are doing. It's just showing us another layer of information, how you're processing information. The difference is your design side is your personality side is based on the day that you were born. And that is what you inherently know. That's your internal world. And the design side is calculated 88 days before you were born. Because when Ra channeled the information, he believed that the soul did not enter the body until 88 days before its entry into this world. It was there, but it was kind of watching the vehicle being created. The driver had not stepped into the vehicle yet because the vehicle was not ready to go, kind of how the suit wasn't ready for the soul to enter.
Right.
And that's when your aura starts to come online. That's when your nervous system starts to come online. That's when your everything really starts to connect to the outer world, because prior to that you're in your mom's belly. So that's the difference between the personality and the design side. The design side is stuff that it really rules in the subconscious. It's not that you can't notice the energy happening in the moment, but you really have to practice a lot of mindfulness. That's why I say that's going to be your best tool. It's going to be your best tool regardless right now, is to practice some mindfulness. But you'll be able to actually witness the energy. In the design side, that's our body, that's our aura picking up on the information before this even has a chance to register. And how that's being registered will show you in the variables depending on your arrows. You, my dear, are very left. So you're probably very strategic when the information is coming to you. So
Yeah, that makes sense. And one thing that I'm noticing and I'm curious about too is, we talk about having defined or undefined aspects to us. Have you ever come across someone who is like 100% everything is defined or 100% everything is undefined? Or is it
yes.
always a mix?
No. So a reflector, what makes them a reflector is they are completely undefined. They will not have a defined center, which means that they are really a mirror. They're reflecting back anyone that they come in contact with. So that is what their job is. They are reflecting back the health of the tribe and how the tribe is doing as a whole. And their decision-making process is to wait for 28 days. Their whole life is really tied to the lunar cycles. So they go through Luna's journey every 28 day tied to that. They're very sensitive people. Now, I have come across only one person I have pulled a chart for that was fully defined, and that threw me off too, because our open centers are going to be our greatest teachers. We between our what's called the hanging gate or the open centers is where we are attracting other people to fill that in. So when you are fully defined, you probably feel really secure in your energy. You're not having to, outside of your gates or anything like that. Yeah, you're probably you feel it's probably a little bit different type of energy because all the centers are actually working together to complete like a massive circuitry, okay, in the mechanics of your body. Um but I've only come across one. It's not I don't want to say it's rare, but it's not common. And outside of that majority, all the other design types, the manifesting generators and projectors, we're going to have a mixture. Some defined centers, some not. Some may only have one center defined, so forth.
Okay, so for example, I have 8 defined aspects, 2, or no, not 8, 6 defined, and 2 undefined. So I don't need to work on the undefined to make them defined. They are exactly as they're supposed to be. So I'm just looking at it as like if someone's wanting to do shadow work, they don't look at this and go, "Oh, this is undefined. I need to everything else is defined. I need to do shadow work to make that defined."
It's still multi-layered. So if you're going to use it for your shadow work specifically, and that's what I like to, I would start with your open centers because your not self theme is going to manifest there the most. Looking at yours, I'll say one that I see a lot playing out in the collective that I'm really good at pinpointing the energy at this point is the ego center. Okay. So the ego can be, when it is undefined, it has the tendency to prove something that it is not. And the energy frequency that comes off of that when people are acting and they're not self theme is very icky, especially if you're in the spiritual community and we are all raising our vibration. The undefined ego, when you act in that way, you can tell you're not being authentic, that you are trying to, it's like a popularity contest, and or they, because someone else is doing it, they feel like they have to do it too. And when people who either can have it or don't have defined either or, they can see the energy outside where they just want to tell the person and say, hey, just be yourself. It's kind of like that painful watching someone be someone that they're not. So every center, it's we live in a world of duality. So I would start with looking at your open centers. They're going to be your greatest teacher, but everything in human design has that duality to it. The gates, the channels, the centers, whether they are defined, undefined, your profile lines, like again, it's very multi-layered. But I mean, it's helped me a lot, because when you do know yourself at a deeper level, when something happens or you're in a certain scenario, you can kind of recognize the energy. I know that everybody who's watching this has encountered a situation in their life where they're, maybe they're talking to someone and they're asking themselves inside, why can't I shut up? Like, why do I just keep talking? It's going to start to answer those questions, or when you get into an argument, why you act a certain way, all sorts of different things. So when you can recognize it happening in yourself and how you are reacting to the energy coming up inside of you, you can start to make better informed decisions. You can pivot, you can change the direction that you're going in your life. If you keep creating the same similar scenarios in your life, then human design can help you dig deeper on a level of like what is happening, what energy is coming up inside of you, how you're reacting to that energy for you to keep manifesting that similar timeline. So,
Right. And I just want to make a observation is I just realized I miscounted. I have 3 undefined and 6 defined, so there's 9 total. And what's interesting is my undefined is the head, the heart, and the root chakra, or the root. I don't know if it's chakra based,
it
but
is.
and so I kind of was finding it interesting as you were talking about the ego. I kept looking through each of them and going, which one's the ego?
It's that small little triangle to the right hand side. Your gate 21 and 26 are highlighted in it. It's a small little motor.
I have to go see where. I don't know where what mine was. Let me go see. Trying to get to the picture to look at it, and okay, I'm at the picture, and you said the ego is where?
To the right, it's a small little triangle. It's got the numbers 26 and 21 highlighted in it.
Right, yeah, I have that. Okay.
Yep.
I see that.
Yep, that is the ego center. Majority of the population have that undefined. There's only 37 around. I would say anywhere between 35 and 40% that maybe have it defined. The defined ego is here because it's the one that comes in and gets things done. That's another energy that it has about itself too. When people really step in to the defined ego, can trigger other people because it feels like someone's taking over. However, without the defined ego, nothing would ever get done. That's what it is there for. It's there to kind of take control and have that pushed energy. That is why it is a motor center. It's just one of the smallest ones that we have in the body. So, but yeah, it's I don't see you acting in your not self theme. And I told you that in your reading.
Right.
You know that, but people who have this undefined, they can try to prove something that they're not, and they don't need to. They just need to be who they are, and the more that they are just who they are, the more that whatever they are seeking by trying to prove themselves will manifest a lot more. So you also pointed out you have an open root. I have an open root. This is just a constant freaking pressure. root pressure, survival pressure, pressure to get things done. When this pressure comes in, it needs to, and for me, it's like it needs to be done right now. And you try to do things to relieve this pressure that you are constantly under, just to find relief, but that's the pressure. Doing the things that the pressure is causing you to do is not going to relieve the pressure. It is just you recognizing that the pressure is there. You also said you have an open head center, so you also have the two pressure centers, or the open head center and the root. You're in a pressure sandwich. So you are in the pressure of trying to formulate your ideas and get them out. You also may spend a lot of time thinking about things that don't matter. What I mean by that is, going to a place and noticing something on the wall and thinking about that thing for 30 some odd minutes, only to get to the conclusion of, why was I thinking about that? What is that going to do? Why do I have this knowledge? That is spending time thinking about things that don't matter, but that's only because you're in this pressure sandwich to just kind of formulate those ideas. Again, knowing that when you see the pressure, especially with my open root, when I feel the pressure coming in, I talk to it. I'm like, that's not my pressure. I'm not going to cripple myself because I'm feeling this pressure to do or go, or it's root related is the best way that I can kind of explain it. So I burnt myself out in my business and ended up resenting it big time because I was responding to the pressure. And it can be crippling sometimes if you don't know what it is and you don't recognize it.
All right. And one thing I'm also noticing that is interesting, and I don't exactly know what it means, but it's something I've been noticing, is looking at my picture where the red and the black, meaning the design and the personality, are in the same line. Only in one spot are they not equal. Is that normal, or is that something like that one that's not equal I need to work on to equalize it?
No, your black and your red lines, the black lines is what's conscious, the red line is unconscious. The reason that they are equal like that only means that at the time of your birth and 88 days prior, that sign, that planet was in that particular line. So I'll give you an example. You have gate 12 both on the personality and design side. Gate 12 on your personality side is in Jupiter and also in your design side. That just means that planet, it's a further planet. It takes longer to move through the gates and everything in the signs and the astrological signs. So that's why you have it double.
Okay.
Is what that means. So when you have planets that are closer to the Earth, like the moon, most likely it's not going to be in the same sign or the same line because it just moves faster. But to add a deeper level to that, so with your gate 12, you have gate 12 in both sides, but it's not a full channel where it's connecting to gate 22. Your gate 12 is going to be seeking gate 22 to complete it biologically.
Right.
Because that is the duality. That is where we can get into the yin and the yang into human design. Just like I mentioned earlier, gate 45 distributes the resources For gate 45 to distribute the resources, it needs the resources which gate 21 provides. That's the yin and the yang of that energy. So every gate, and on the other side of that gate by the channel is its companion, so to say. So if you wanted to add another layer of shadow work, you can always look at the gate on the other side. When it's not completed, that's what it is called, a hanging gate. So what's on the other side, biologically, you're going to want to seek.
Okay, that makes sense. And I'm also a little curious because the design is subconscious, right? Where personality is conscious.
Mm-hmm.
Is it normal that the subconscious and conscious aren't equal? That like I think I have more red lines
Mm-hmm.
than the black lines.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because you can have on the personality side, some of the planets can be in multiple different lines. So it's yes, to answer your question, you can have more red than black. It doesn't, you have the same amount of black, but you may not see it because there's stelliums that happen in our astrology chart. So it's going to also affect the certain gates. One gate can be multiply defined by the planet or what's happening astrologically. And again, tying in astrology would just give it a deeper flavor of how that specific gene is really manifesting itself, because that's what the gates are. The gates are tied to the I Ching, and the I Ching is tied to the 64 hexagrams in your DNA strand.
Right, and so let's just take a hypothetical. When I'm looking at my chart, so gate 57 and gate 10 are connected by the subconscious, but not the personality, consciousness. But because it is connected, I don't need to do shadow work to make both of those connected. It's already connected, so don't
Well, yeah,
prepare.
you would not need to do any shadow work as it pertains to connecting gates or anything like that, but you would want to just dive into what the not self theme would be expressed for not just the gates, but also that specific channel. So, um, I'll give you an example. So that is the 1057. That is the channel of perfected form. This channel is about the self and personal uniqueness, being empowered to survive in its own way. This survivalist intelligence comes from gate 57, splenic energy, survival, well-being, and fears. It helps gate 10 express its creativity and stays true to its true self in the situation by being provided with a unique survivalist potential. So you can, and it'll probably be in the moment because that's how the spleen works. You're going to be able to have quick downloads on solutions when it comes to getting out of any type of situations. It's kind of knowing where the exit door before everyone else knows where the exit door is. However, in the not self theme, how this can come through is you getting hits from your spleen that, hey, here's the exit door. If something happens, you're going to do A, B, C, and D to survive out of this, and you ignoring that. Does that make sense?
It does.
But again, going back to the gates and everything tied to that is going to give you a more flavor on how that specific energy is being expressed.
And I'm kind of curious too, is I see the design has each of the planets, and so does the personality in the chart with numbers. And then I see the connecting or hanging gates or not even connected gates
Mm-hmm.
in there. But then in the arrows, there's like 2 numbers in each arrow. What do those
It's a
numbers?
total, that's like level 4, level 5. So I don't want to add too much information because then it can get confusing. That goes into all sorts of different things called tones and colors. Um, yeah.
Okay, so those aren't gates that are
No,
needing attention, in other
no,
words.
no, not at all.
Okay.
No.
Because, yeah, I was getting confused, like, because on the right I have 3 3 and 2 2 and arrows, and I'm like, if those are gates, how do I connect a gate
Mm.
to itself?
No, you don't, and you won't. The only way that you can is by coming in contact with another person's aura. But you don't need to, honey, because you are what's called a single definition, which means all of your centers are communicating with each other, and you don't need someone to step in to fill that.
Right.
Not ever. I need, there are some channels in my design that is not connected, that when I'm around people who do bridge that, I can feel that energy. It's kind of like, I don't know what it is that I know until someone comes across me, and then that gets connected and I can spit out this knowledge that I've been investigating for a long period of time. Um, I can see it manifest when that happens, but that's because I need someone to come in and bridge that for me. You don't particularly need to do that. I would just really basically, the manual that I gave you, I would just start with that. And when you get into specific information like your centers and your gates, there's going to be your true self and also your not self thing, because both manifest. So,
Okay. And so I know we talked a little bit about, like, my incarnation crosses, the racks of Eden. I still am kind of a little puzzled. Like, is that referring to the origins, or, because the word Eden, or is that and racks? I'm not familiar with that term either. And so am I like trying to put two different concepts together that aren't supposed to be connected?
no, your incarnation cross, you're going to inherently live out. There are several different types of incarnation cross. Yours is specific to what's called Eden. So you can look at it as you're at the very beginning of the journey. Think Adam and Eve kicked out of the Garden of Eden and out in the desert. Okay.
Right.
The racks is right angle incarnation cross. There's three
Oh.
different types. Your right angle means that you are specific. Uh, you're creating karma. You're here to create karma. Okay. Good karma, bad karma. People get hung up like, oh my God, bad karma. No, your soul is kind of like coming in the, not in the very beginning of the journey, but in this specific incarnation, it is here to help create specific karma, figuring out things, okay, um, in a brand new way. It's fitting because it's revelations. The whole old world is crumbling right now. And it's going to be like we're kicked out of the garden. And what are we going to be doing? Your specific type is here to do that. So majority, again, of the population is right angles. They're creating the karma. You have what's called left angles. I am a left angle. I'm a left angle on the incarnation cross of dominion. Foundation setting is dominion. God gave man dominion over the air, land, and sea. Okay. So one of the things that I teach inside of the Innerversity is setting a solid foundation and claiming your sovereignty, which means understanding which jurisdiction you are really operating in, because it's multi-layered. Left angles are here to not just create karma, but we also clear karma too. I take that seriously. Everyone that comes in contact with me in my life, there's a specific reason. We have a contract to do that, because right now, me and you on a higher level, whether we are aware of it or not, are working through specific karma that we need to help the collective as a whole. Your right angle, you just, are doing it for your own personal reason. Mine is a deeper level. I'm creating and clearing, which we need. And then you have what's called juxtaposition types, and they're very rare, and they are here in their own specific journey. That's it. They come down. It's like they have I don't want to say that it's like a secret mission, but their incarnation is specific to a reason. So there's a very few type of those that come and do that. So that's where it kind of gets into the incarnation cross. But again, kind of read in your manual, and it'll just dive a little bit deeper what your specific cross is going to do. And most people won't see their cross within their life until later in life. That's where you can look back and start to kind of see that you're living it out. Typically, after you have your first solar return, your solar return is, my opinion, where the consciousness is going to really start to alter and mature in a way. Because typically, this isn't mature until later on in life.
Right. And what I'm finding also interesting and liking is there's the connection to the planets and celestial objects versus going, okay, yeah, this house, which I never understood what a house was in astrology, because my mind looks up in the sky and I'm like, there's no houses up there. What are we talking about? What are we creating here? And so I like that it's just the planets, and that you don't sit there and go, oh well, this isn't no longer a planet. No, it's a planet. It doesn't matter which type of planet now that we're defining those, which I find highly kind of insulting to nature, that we are taking what they created and said, oh no, we're gonna reclaim and redefine what you did to fit our needs. It's like, what?
Well, you can pull charts that look like astrological charts through human design. And that's just like another layer. Even if you add into the astrology, the best way to look at the houses is that the first houses 1 through 6 has everything to do with you and your internal world. Your internal world, what's happening in your personal world, in all areas. So personal, spiritual, mental, and physical, how you look physically, how you make money, your family life, all of that personal, where the top part of the astrological chart is going to be connection with other people, how that is playing a part on the world stage. Adding human design into that is just another layer of flavor. So that's another thing that I personally have been tracking, because as the heavens move up above, stars, the moon, the sun, and everything like that, it is impacting your design right now. That's something completely different when you start tracking the transits, but it'll affect the way that you feel, act, and I'm just trying to pay attention by checking in on a daily basis, like what's happening up above and how that is affecting me and how I'm feeling. Sometimes I can wake up and I'm like, why do I feel so funky? And then I will look and there's either a transit going through the emotional center. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just feeling funky today. Doesn't mean anything outside of me is making me feel that way. I'm just processing energy. And the more that I don't get in my head about it or take it personally or start adding in healthy habits, like, just to help transmute it, I can have an easier day and a more compassion day than triggering a bunch of people because I just feel funky. I have to tell it. I woke up this morning feeling funky, and I told the people around me that, hey, I'm feeling it. Let me have a moment.
Yeah. I'm kind of noticing, because I'm seeing now the gates, and I didn't get that far before. And as you were talking about them, I'm seeing like personality of the moon being driving force is Gemini. And so I'm like, okay, that's the twins. Okay, I can get that. And then when I go down to design moon, driving force is now Aries. Is it normal that the signs could be opposing or different signs?
Absolutely, because your design site is going to be calculated 88 days prior to your birthday. So the moon's, for example, it changes signs every 2.5 days, roughly. So if your moon was in Gemini, 88 days prior to that, it wasn't in Gemini. It was going to be in Aries. So that's how that's calculated. But you don't, again, you don't need to know astrology. You don't even need to, that's just an additional layer. I don't even know how many layers human design is, to be honest. So I don't want to get anyone confused, or if you don't know astrology, you don't need to add that in. You can. It would just make a little bit more sense. I have a Gemini moon. That's the mental, okay? So your mind works very dualistic, and you have it defined in gate 35, which is, why do I not see gate 30? Where's the moon? Oh, okay, here it is. Gate 35 is going to be in your throat, and it is basically, the gate name is for change and progress. So the gate of change is always seeking. It has like a desire. It wants something new. It has a need for change. It needs to change things. It has the potential to see things that need to be changed. And so therefore it wants to speak up. And it can do that in a very Gemini way. Geminis can be very playful, and also with that change, because Gemini is the twins and dualistic, you may change your mind about things too. in a very quick way. So that particular gate is really all about progress. It's all about change. It's all about pushing change, and that can manifest or come through in a very Gemini way.
Okay, and one of the reasons too why I was curious about that is I always find it interesting. I'm a water sign, being born under Pisces, but I generate so much heat with my body, which that would be a fire sign. And I'm like, I'm not a fire sign, I'm a water sign. So I often have wondered, why does my body generate so much heat?
I don't know. I would probably recommend getting into some Ayurvedic on that one. I don't know. I cannot. I haven't quite established how to read that through human design. I'm pretty sure on some level, there is someone out there that could possibly do that. I have not gotten to that level. So, but any
Well,
more questions?
not that are coming to mind, and we're actually at an hour and a half too.
Yeah.
We're getting close to it, so it's like perfect timing. And I just want to say thank you for your patience and explaining that. And I think, in my personal opinion and my hopes, is people see this and what we were discussing and seeing how it, clarifies who we are and how it explains what we do in a way that they could see it firsthand, that people sit there and go, hey, I'm feeling stuck in this. Maybe I should contact Jen and get one of those and help, push the stuckness out and get everything flowing and find answers to questions that we may not even know we had, or questions that have been plaguing us and going, I don't understand, why I do this. And having this done gives you that answer. And so my hope is that everyone watching this, and when I say everyone, I don't mean every single person who watches it, although Jen would love that. But, the people that are drawn to wanting those answers will contact you and seek out those answers and start the process. And by no means am I sitting there and saying, hey, now that I've done this test, I don't have any shadow work or anything to do because all my answers are here. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it'll open doors that have probably felt stuck, and awarenesses that you didn't know you had. That's where I'm hoping you'll go with it and help you move forward.
Yes, it will. You know, the more that I recognize or see just the energy happening in my own life, there's definitely something to this. And this particular show and what we've been talking about is just specific to the individual. The reason I'm passionate about it is because there is something that happens when we connect together all of our auras that is also playing a part with how they are controlling us as a whole, how we're being programmed, and all this other stuff. So the more that we can learn about ourselves, it's kind of like we are taking back little pieces of our sovereignty. And but that, even though that human design is kind of fairly new, they know the powers that be that want to control us as humanity know about this, and they'll prey on the different centers. And so when you can kind of recognize things in the moment, again, you can just kind of make better choices. And for anyone that's watching that would like to dive a little bit deeper, I mean, even if you don't have any money for a session or anything, and you just kind of want to know what your type is, definitely reach out. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And the free report really basically will give you the information to kind of get started. And there's so much information on online now that you can just kind of dig deeper into that. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be a great tool for humanity as a whole moving forward.
And one question I kind of curious about, as we're talking about, being programmed and everything, is there a specific defined or undefined aspect that makes some people more not accessible, what's the word, more
Influenced or
able to be
susceptible?
susceptible to the programming, and some that are like they'll take it and then they're like, wait, nope, something's not right, and break out of the programming?
Yes and no. I have been actually investigating that, because the shadow side of the open head center, for one, can be influenced by secondhand thoughts. And so true ideas and everything that are manifested into the collective really are originating from someone who has a defined head center. Okay. I have a defined head center, but there's a shadow to the defined head center. That's where I feel closed mindedness comes in. And being too in your certainty, sometimes I can reject outer information where the open head center is more influenced to new ideas. So it can go in multiple different ways. It's really just kind of being mindful of how you could be possibly influenced. Um, but I'm still investigating this myself, because I know that they are programming us through a lot of our centers and the open centers. Most people who have the open root, we tend to, especially when what I have found with working with clients when they're building their own businesses, the ones with the open root can tend to have more burnout and struggle with, hitting their goals that they have for income, because they're the ones that tend to add more on their plate than is necessary. Um, Only because we're trying to do stuff to relieve that pressure. And it doesn't matter how much you put on your plate to relieve that pressure. Nothing's going to relieve the pressure until you stop responding to the pressure, really. Um, so it can be multiple different ways, but I do feel that they use that to keep us distracted. You know, Going on the open route, it's survival. And people right now are trying to just survive, and they are trying to survive in multiple different ways. Working, I had a friend on my timeline who had a breakdown today because her son said that all she did was work, and she doesn't have a choice. And I know that she probably has an open route too, just by what I know from her. And, she's just trying to survive, but she's also trying to do stuff to relieve that pressure. But it's like they can't get ahead because that center, because of that pressure, is going to get you to do things. So
Right. And that makes sense. And I put the RISE site on. Is that where you want people to go?
yeah, absolutely. That's the first point of entry, and then they can find me, send me a message, pretty much anywhere on social media. I'll reply. I am currently having my assistant help me with kind of revamping my website, so they can just send me a message and I can send them the link to download their chart. So we should have that up soon as a button, but just trying to get all the other stuff knocked off my to-do list.
It's never ending.
Never ending.
And on a personal note, I have added a QR code to the screen, and that is if you wish to donate to the show to keep it going and being able to have such amazing guests as Jennifer on, feel free, any amount you feel comfortable with donating. 100% of the proceeds go towards me and the shows, and I use that money specifically for shows. And so I would like to say, being a guest, Jen gets a cut, but my guests don't get paid. I don't get paid. And so we are doing this and sharing this information from our heart source. And so thank you to everyone who's watching and supporting both Jen and RISE Innerversity and my shows. We can't do what we're doing without your support. So thank you so much. And as with last time, I'm going to do it again for you, Jen. Is my heart to your heart, my shows to you. Thank you for what you're doing. And thank
Thank you.
you for being your authentic self. It's seen, felt, and appreciated.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for being in your true form.
Thank you. And yeah, and just on a fun note is when we were talking about all of my chart and everything, there were moments where we were sitting there laughing about the results and going, "This is so you." And I was like, "Yeah." And we'd be laughing about you couldn't go the other way. It's like it just isn't you. And I was like, "Oh, but and she would be laughing where I'd try to say, "Oh, I could do," and she's like, "Nope." So
Mm-hmm.
there is some fun to it as well. So don't think everything's gonna be like, "Oh, it's this, this, this." There is a little fun side to it as well.
Yes, and that's the joy and the blessing that it does bring, because sometimes we can take ourselves way too serious. And now when I start to see certain energy that may not be my most pleasant side, when I can see it come up, I can laugh at it and just kind of laugh at myself. Again, I'm going to reference my gate 45 because I recognize it. Sometimes it can come in and get and be controlling about certain things. And when I see it, I'm like, okay, I just laugh at myself about it. I don't have to react to the energy. I just, it's there. And at the end of the day, it is just energy. And you can not take yourself so seriously and take this journey called life so seriously. Um, on some level, we did come down to enjoy it as much of a shit show of a container that we are in. When we do know who we truly are, we kind of it's a blessing. So
It
thank
is.
you.
And so you're welcome. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow along my YouTube channel as well as Jen's YouTube channel, because you never know when she'll be popping back up on the show and sharing new information that she may have discovered, or diving deeper into information we've already shared. And it's a never ending cycle. And on Saturday, in a couple of days, I'll be doing a presentation at a conference online, and I'm talking about the power and the mythos of the hero's journey. And I can't help but kind of be like looking at all that was just unveiled to me through this process, going, so that's why this hero's journey happened at this point, and this hero's journey is going on now, and this hero's journey is yet to come. Is It's all entangled.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Pretty amazing. Good luck on your conference too.
Thank you. And with that, I'm going to say good night to everyone. Have a wonderful night. And as a little humor to end the show with, I'm going to say, in full disclosure, Jen and I are operating on not full sleep. So I am so grateful that this came out and turned out the way it did, because we both were like, yeah, we're both operating not at 100% with
No,
sleep. And so we're like, I'm hoping this will go well.
it did. Thank you very much. I'm glad we got to do it.
Yes. And so get some rest. And I'm going to go get some rest. And blessings to everyone. And the biggest thing I will say real quick that came out of doing this with Jen, I always talk about having hope, and I always talk about hope being key to everything and such a powerful aspect that's always around the corner. I will say, without a doubt, no matter what came through as we were discussing every step by step, I always knew there was hope with it. It was like it was reaffirming and validating all the hope. And so that's something to keep in mind, as well as when you're, if you're stuck somewhere or you're feeling like something's missing, take a chance and see, if what you'll discover on the journey into your blueprint.
Love that. Thank you for that. That's beautiful.
You're welcome. And you can send me the royalty checks later. No, just kidding.
Thank you. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Yes. And we are going to now switch over to the outro. So good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.